received as funny, as evidenced by the audience and Will Smith laughing. And this is the moment where we got to see a live-action, real-time encapsulation of how cancel culture works. Look at what happens next. Jada shoots her husband a look. Let's slow the tape down to capture this moment. Before this moment, Will is laughing because he hasn't yet found out that his original, genuine reaction is wrong and that he should conform.
Bill Maher is rubbing salt straight into the wound of Will Smith's infamous Oscar slap. You know the story, but what you might have missed is Maher's savage, laugh-out-loud takedown of Smith's so-called tough guy act. He roasted Will without mercy, exposing that burst of manhood for the cheap theater it really was.
Jokes for the humor impaired. Not that I have anyone particular in mind. Now, I know we're all sick of talking about the slap, but I'm sorry, one more thing needs to be said. Comedians have been under attack for quite some time, and I need to stick up for my tribe. This war on jokes must end. So tonight, let's Zapruder film this thing once and for all and explain jokes to idiots.
So you heard the man, and he's right. Comedy has been under siege for a while now. First, the woke crowd went after movies, deciding which ones should be made and which ones deserve the axe. Now they've shifted their aim to comedy itself, dictating which jokes are acceptable and which must be silenced. It's like they're determined to suck the fun out of everything. But Bill Maher isn't the type to sit quietly while free expression gets strangled. Fed up, he decided it was time to bring his fire to the fight.
Chris Rock came out to present a boring award and first did what he is supposed to do, get some laughs doing what we comics call crowd work. Denzel and Javier Bardem each got spritzed. And then Chris made what in the business is known as a "some shit is like some other shit" joke. He said to Jada Smith, "Jada can't wait for G.I. Jane 2, recalling the late 90s movie starring Demi Moore. That's it. That's the joke. You remind me of some other beautiful, buzz-cutted movie star. It wasn't an alopecia joke any more than the one about the chicken crossing the road is about bird flu."
Now, here's the part that's actually fascinating. I'll admit, I never really looked at it this way before. Sure, I knew about the G.I. Jane movie, but it didn't even click that Chris Rock's jab was tied directly to the shaved head look in the film and Jada's haircut that night. Such a simple connection, yet so many of us overlooked it. But here's the bigger point. Jokes are jokes. They're not supposed to be dissected like state policy. Sometimes they sting, sometimes they don't. Either way, we've got to toughen up. That's comedy, raw, unfiltered, and unapologetic. Now, let's roll the clip.
Oh, insult humor is also a staple of comedy. And in fact, an example of insulting someone's looks was on display that night when Regina Hall said, "We've been dealing with COVID for 2 years. It's been really hard on people." And Amy Schumer said, "Yeah, just look at Timothée Chalamet," and they cut to J.K. Simmons. Who made a face a lot like the one Jada would make later on. But that's where it ended. It's called being a good sport, especially when you're a rich celebrity. Let the common people take the piss out of you for one stinking minute. And
one thing about these award shows, they've basically become open hunting grounds where comedians take aim at rich, powerful celebrities. It's almost part of the entertainment now. Watching stars who usually live in luxury and bask in endless praise get knocked down a peg with a sharp joke. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of roasting people in front of millions. But at the end of the day, it's a free world, and comedy has its place. If someone's ego or feelings take a hit, so be it. That's the risk of sitting in the front row.
Chris's joke was received as funny, as evidenced by the audience and Will Smith laughing. And this is the moment where we got to see a live-action, real-time encapsulation of how cancel culture works. Look at what happens next. Jada shoots her husband a look. Let's slow the tape down to capture this moment. There. Back and to the left. Back and to the left. Back and to the left.
Here's the part that stumps everyone. Will Smith actually laughed at Chris Rock's jab, at least at first. But then Jada shot him that icy glare, and in an instant, his whole demeanor flipped. The rest is history. That split-second shift says everything about Hollywood and the woke crowd. Deep down, many celebrities don't truly buy into every cause they parade around. But just like Smith caving under pressure, they're coerced into compliance. The unspoken threat looms large. Step out of line, lose your reputation, maybe your career. It's not conviction driving them, it's fear.
Will is laughing because he hasn't yet found out that his original genuine reaction is wrong and that he should conform to a different view. And he's the one who's being manly? I've seen the same syndrome happen in comedy clubs. Woke hecklers who literally have to wait for the laughter to die down before they yell, "That's not funny!"
Will Smith might have thought his split-second Oscar slap was the noble thing, defending his wife and proving he wouldn't tolerate disrespect. On the surface, it looked like chivalry, but peel back the layers, and it wasn't courage, it was surrender. Real strength isn't about throwing a slap on live TV, it's about holding your ground under pressure. Smith's first reaction was laughter, but one glare from Jada rewrote his script. What was framed as love looked instead like weakness, exposing a man more worried about appeasement than authenticity.
Must end. Will Smith didn't get kicked out of the Oscars for going Ike Turner on Chris, but Kevin Hart got kicked out of hosting it for a joke. Who are these people who say cancel culture isn't a real thing? Just among comedians who've gotten fired and lost gigs for exercising their freedom of expression, the toll is high. Gilbert Gottfried and Kathy Griffin were tasteless. So what? That's why we like them.
Sure, a joke can be tasteless, even offensive. But does that mean it deserves cancellation? Comedy has always thrived on risk, pushing boundaries, making people squirm. If you don't like a comedian's material, don't buy the ticket, don't stream the special, don't show up. Offense is subjective, not universal law. Comedians have the right to say what they want, whether it lands or not. And unless it crosses into illegality, it's not for mobs or cancel crusaders to decide. Real freedom is simple. Tune it out and move on.
Testing where the line is. We can't always be perfect any more than Tom Brady will never throw an interception. Dave Chappelle lost distribution for his documentary, and Sarah Silverman was fired from a film over an old sketch where she wore blackface to make fun of racism. Roseanne lost the TV show she created with her name on it over tweets that were very offensive, but not at all clear Roseanne knew them to be. She is crazy, and I say that as a friend.
Sarah Silverman's controversial blackface sketch wasn't designed to demean. It was meant to expose racism itself, using satire as a sharp weapon. Her intent was clear: highlight the ugliness of prejudice by confronting it head-on. But nuance doesn't survive in outrage culture. Critics zeroed in on the imagery, ignored the context, and painted her as the villain. The tragic irony? In trying to start a conversation about racism, Silverman became a casualty of the very cultural policing that silences dialogue.
Off stage, but comedian Nimesh Patel was literally pulled off stage during a performance at Columbia for a joke about how hard it is to be gay and black. Not an anti-gay joke, mind you, a pro-gay joke. But one of the event organizers walked on stage and said, "I don't think you're entitled to certain jokes you're making." Well, a sense of entitlement certainly is a big part of the problem here, but not on the part of the comedian.
Here's where the absurdity peaks. Comedian. Nimesh Patel was yanked off stage mid-set, not for insulting the woke crowd, but for a joke that actually leaned in their favor. Wrap your head around that. Offend them, and you're cancelled. Agree with them, and somehow you're cancelled too. Patel's case proves it's not about the jokes anymore. It's about controlling comedy itself. That's a dangerous game, where comedians are damned either way, walking a tightrope with no safe footing.
People who can't take a joke now aren't old ladies in the Bible Belt. They're Gen Z at elite colleges. Colleges where comedy goes to die. Kids used to go to college and lose their virginity. Now they go to lose their sense of humor.
Colleges were once temples of free thought, places where ideas clashed, debates raged, and students sharpened their minds by engaging with competing perspectives. That was the point of higher education. But now, many campuses have turned into echo chambers, so drenched in wokeness that dissent isn't just discouraged, it's treated as hostility. Students are conditioned to silence what they disagree with instead of wrestling with it. The result? A generation shielded from challenge, not strengthened by it. And that should alarm everyone.
Viewed college bookers who revealed that before a comedian even takes the stage, they're asked to edit out anything from their act that may cause offense, leaving a world where more and more topics are off limits, and soon there'll be nothing left to joke about except airline food and Starbucks getting your name wrong.
Donald Trump's push for colleges to clean house on professors who preach rather than teach has hit a nerve, and for good reason. Too many classrooms have turned into political pulpits where curiosity gets traded for conformity. Education should be about sharpening critical thinking, not drilling students with one-sided propaganda. By calling this out, Trump is pressuring universities to restore what they've lost: balance, debate, and genuine learning. And really, it all connects. From Will Smith's slap to Sarah Silverman's satire, from Nimesh Patel being yanked off stage to campuses silencing dissent, the pattern is impossible to miss. Fear and censorship are replacing courage and conversation. Whether it's comedians, celebrities, or students, people are being pushed to conform instead of think. Real progress only comes when we protect open dialogue, even when it stings. That's where we'll leave it for today. If you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next upload.